Everyone, and welcome back to another prelimination tournament round of the Empire, featuring our favourite ref, the Jeff, as I've just called him there. He's striking a pose for us for some reason, not quite sure why, but he does assure me that we are a go-go. Jeff, the ref today, is bringing us again to the battlefields of the Empire as we see the forces of Balthasar Gelt taking on the Hunt Marshal. Balthasar Gelt, the wizard of the law of metal, which unfortunately does not involve dropping Scandinavian black metal bands onto the battlefield, is bringing his own very fancy colour scheme forces. If we could just have a quick look at these. Look at these boys. Mixes bright yellows, oranges and black there. Very fancy, or very dark blue at least. His force is quite a well-rounded one. We've got a unit of crossbowmen, handgunners, 3 company militia, more handgunners, and a great cannons. Again, the great cannons. Not quite sure. They didn't work out for Volkmar. Covered by outriders with grenade launchers. Very powerful unit, very deadly. His infantry line is a bit smaller, but consists of halberdiers, swordsmen, spearmen, and spearmen. None with shields. But he did smartly bring himself 2 units of mortars. This is quite significant, and Balthasar himself is also mounted on horseback. Got himself his fancy gold staff. Now, across from him is the Hunt Marshal, the expert at ranged combat, and he's bringing with him on his skirmish line a unit of Reichsguard shock cavalry. Your standard Imperial cavalry, but that doesn't mean that they suck. They're actually quite effective, very heavily armoured cavalry lancers there. Whereas also his skirmish line is some handgunners, some swordsmen, some great swords, a Empire captain, a unit of handgunners, swordsmen, and a demigriff knights with halberds. His front line is an outriders, and he himself, Markus Wulfhart, is also bringing his own special tactics and operations as we get ready to fight this one. It's a smaller force versus a much larger, concise force, so I'm interested to see how this one goes, so let's kick it off. There's definitely more of an emphasis again on sort of mixed tactics as both units of mortars kick off. It's going to be raining death if we go down here into the slow-mo. It looks like they were aiming for the great swords. Oh, and that man just, I don't know how he's still alive. Good to the game. Oh, but that round on the other hand, boom. Oh, shrapnel bodies everywhere. Still haven't actually suffered a casualty from the mortar fire just yet, apparently. According to that, as the mortars just rain in. Whoa. Brutal. It's, for some reason, the outriders have just stood there watching the great swords get pounded by this artillery fire. Obviously, Markus, being the Empire General, who has opted not to bring any artillery to this battle, which is an unusual option, considering the Empire's, favoriting of such weaponry. Artillery is cheap and plentiful within the ranks of the Empire, and a definite smart choice for anyone playing in the campaign, by the way. As soon as you can get yourself some mortars, get them in your armies, they can do a lot of damage very quickly. Now, that said, Markus is a ranged specialist. He himself will be able to do a lot of damage, but that said, there's also a lot of fire coming in on those Reichsguard who are going in for the flank on his ranged forces. The outriders, though, of Markus are beginning combat there with the Empire crossbowmen. The handgunners get into position, but we've also got the deadly grenade launchers. Are they going to... Oh, they've unleashed some of the first volley, but it's against the Empire captain. That's a bad target. Oh, this is a bit more effective. Oof. Explosions across the board. How did that do? That killed a fair number of swordsmen. That's the effectiveness the outriders armed with grenade launchers. They are deadly. A couple of units of those will completely disrupt the front line, and things are just going to turn into a chaotic melee now at this point. Already we've seen that the great cannons of Balthasar Gelt's forces have been routed. They are no longer effective on the field. His 3rd artillery unit has been completely nullified, and that's an expensive unit to have and lose at an early stage of the battle like this. Meanwhile, the left flank of Balthasar Gelt is actually starting to collapse. The outriders with grenade launchers have been singled out as the Hunt Marshal himself just starts raining arrows down. That's what you just saw, that single shot. You can see them coming in. Boom. He has got extensive range with his bow there. He can do a lot of damage to single targets very quickly. The mortars now are going to struggle to find targets. Balthasar Gelt raining liquid gold down, but it did more damage to his own troops than it did to the Reichsguard, which has caused the spearmen, who should have had the advantage against the cavalry, to flee. This is a disaster for Balthasar Gelt. He needed his spearmen to keep those horse boys off him, and it's not worked. Balthasar Gelt is now reconsidering his life choices, wandering around by his mortar team. As the demigriff knights charge in, he's off. He's running. As the Demigriffs now just lay waste to the mortars. This is an unfortunate setback here for Balthasar Gelt. He had the advantage in range, he had the skirmish line, he could have focused his fire, he could have worn down the incoming heavier units, the Great Swords and the Right Guard of Markus Wulfhart. But it's not worked out that way, and now his front line is crumbling as his spearmen are getting crushed. The Empire Captain is tearing apart the swordsmen alongside the Great Swords. It's a horrendous battle. These Great Swords have got the Plague of Rust, but it's not really going to help them at this point. Balthasar Gelt just casting spells if he can, when he can, where he can, and now he's in combat with the Demigriff Knights with halberds. This isn't going to go well for him. He's a wizard. He's not there for punching stuff in the face. He's supposed to be casting spells. He's supposed to be like Chris Jericho. He's supposed to be a wizard because he'll throw a metal fireball in your face. But unfortunately, he has been forced to retreat. The Empire Captain has himself gone with Foe Seeker to try and strike down Balthasar Gelt, and that's it. It's over. It's done. It's dusted. That was actually incredible. The amount that was going on there at the end, it was fast, it was furious, and it highlighted how a smaller, more focused force of high damage output can just obliterate a much larger force like that. So if we have a look, if we go into the post-battle score here, Balthasar Gelt deployed 1,051 men compared to Markus's 694. That's a significant man difference there. Losses of 571. Over half of his force was killed compared to Markus's 124. A mere sixth, roughly, of his force taken out. Balthasar Gelt himself only killing 11. Though he dealt a lot of damage, he just didn't kill a lot of units in and of itself. His spearmen only got 3. His other spearmen got 16. Swordsmen killed 7. Halberdiers killed 15. He had a unit of handgunners that didn't even fire enough volleys to get a kill. They had a single bout of 323 damage dealt and did no casualties in return. The Free Company militia may as well shot themselves. The crossbowmen got a grand total of 3 kills. His handgunners did 18. Even the mortars, to be fair, they looked impressive with their shots, but collectively did not do a lot of damage. 27 kills combined between 2 mortar units. Whereas we go over to the effectiveness of Markus's forces. Markus 39, the Empire Captain 37, both hero and general units giving quite a good account of themselves. The swordsmen almost equal for kills, 48 and 47. The Great Swords 58, despite the amount of damage they suffered. His units of handgunners did well, 76 and 61. The Reichsguard proving their worth with 88. The Demigriffs with 54, and the Outriders without the grenade launchers got 47. To put in perspective, the Outriders with grenade launchers got 11 kills. It's a huge difference. And yeah, goes to show you that a larger force isn't necessarily the best way to go. It's the way that those units are deployed. And I think in this case, the Hunt Marshal, he just had the superior tactics. And with that one, I'll leave you there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you for the final of the preliminations for the Empire of the Tournament of the Old World.